Nearly lunchtime, don't worry. Okay, what if you? What if you? What if you leave your lanyards at the door and create real partnerships with the people that you work with to effect real positive change? You. What if you take the time and the space to lead? What if you remain collaborative in bringing people together, understanding each other's perspectives? What if you learn from and challenge one another? What if you work through disagreements or conflicts as honestly and openly as you can and agree the best way forwards? And what if you start right now with your ideas? Because there is a massive burning platform out there. Katrina talked this morning about a few things that are going to be hitting us. You know the stories about the ageing population, and I'll get into a few things in a minute on that one. But there is a huge burning platform that while you're sitting here, while you're having your lunch, while you're listening this afternoon, when you go back and do your emails, when you go to your next meetings, there is a huge burning platform. And so I just wanted to tell you a little bit about why agency matters. So agency is about you. It's about how do you influence, take action and influence external events. So what can you personally do to make a change? You're the right people in the room that we've just heard from all morning to start to make those changes to affect some of the things that we've been talking about. It's not anyone else, it's you. So there's never been a time where you really need to challenge yourself on your own role in what's happening globally, what's happening within the UK. This is about you. It's about how you do all of these things. And you need to ask these questions, what ifs. This is the state of the nation. So there's a guy called Ara Darzi, and he wrote a report at the end of last year for the government, and you know it was probably a little politically biased. I agree with that one, but he's been around for a long time. He's a very eminent surgeon. He was used in a government probably around 2000. He's been used again now to write a report, and he came up with a really damning report about what things are looking like. Public satisfaction, and you will all know this because you live and breathe it every day and talk to people about it every day. Public satisfaction with the NHS is at its lowest ever, full stop. Time spent in ill health has increased with everybody, and the demands that you heard about from Katrina Stevens this morning are happening with the majority of morbidity, the majority of diseases, long-term diseases. They're all going up. Waiting times you know about, people talk about, oh, I can't get in to see my GP, there's no dental provision, I'm on a waiting list at the hospital and it's, you know, I'm on it for 2 years. I think to get a mental health support at the minute, it's something like 28 weeks waiting time for some of those services. So it's really dire. Hence the burning platform is right here and right now. There's unwarranted variations in the number of patients per GP and a shortage of GPs. We feel that in North Cumbria a lot and South Cumbria as well. A&E waits you'll know about. 12-hour waiting times in A&E we know causes harm. We know that. But it happens a lot. Waiting time for hospital procedures we've talked about. Cancer treatments, cancer diagnosis, people being diagnosed too late with cancer. It's all here and it's all now, and it's not really getting any better, to be honest. So whilst I work for the NHS and have been passionate advocate for the NHS for many years, it's in a really, really bad state. And that's have a look at Dr. Ara Darzi's report, and it will really bring home a few things for you. If you are struggling to sleep at night, there's another couple of reports on here that you might want to look at. One by Patricia Hewitt, which talks about her recommendations, which really, she had a lot of recommendations that weren't really taken up by the government, but there's some really solid, sound thinking in her report, I think, going forwards. And I need to put my glasses on. The Fuller report, so Dr. Claire Fuller did a report about integrated neighbourhood teams. You'll hear that more and more at the moment because the government are really starting to look at the shift from hospitals into communities and what that might be. I think this is a similar graph that Katrina showed this morning, but it just shows the kind of the population, the old age dependency is predicted to just go up and up and up, bigger than it's ever been, ever. Multimorbidity, so this is where we've talked about people who've got bone density problems, we've talked about people who are inactive, we've talked about people who are obese, we've talked about people who probably smoke, but there are respiratory diseases, there's cancer, there are neurological diseases. Mental health is currently in a massive crisis and people are talking about mental health crisis. So as well as talking about physical activity that we've talked about today, there will be a whole wraparound of potential issues that are only at the moment going up, which affects everything that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So what that means is things are deteriorating in terms of the health of the nation. We've got an ageing population that you're all massively aware of. Long-term conditions is rising. Mental health appears to have deteriorated quite significantly. And, particularly with the younger generation, huge issues around mental health. The wider determinants of health is a significant driver in all of this. So this is where we really need to start to work across a system with our local authority colleagues, in particular, around education, housing, work, as well as income, relationships, families, etc. Because it all impacts on the people that you are seeing on a day-to-day basis. Spending's going up, complexity's going up, social care isn't valued to the point that we need it to be. I think there was a select committee meant to meet yesterday about the planned changes around social care. That was cancelled, which isn't a great signal about what's coming around the corner. And with each passing year, the gap between those that are ill and those that are unwell is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. A lot of that to do with deprivation. So these are the three things in Dr. Ars's report, where he talks about three major shifts. Hospital to community. At the moment, the hospitals are full. They're full with a lot of people, that shouldn't be there. Yes, there's a lot of people that should be there, but there's a lot of people that shouldn't be there. If we work together in the future, we need to stop a lot of people even getting to that hospital front door. We need to look at other mechanisms. We need to look at prevention, etc. Which is his third point, which is about we treat a lot of people. We say a lot of people are ill, they're sick. Let's look at the results of all the things that we've talked about this morning. Let's wait until they get ill and then we'll treat them. As opposed to really getting upstream around primary, secondary prevention. Making sure that people are living lives where they're not having to deteriorate to the point where we're overrun with services and demand has gone through the roof. And then analog to digital as well. How do we use digital, particularly in Cumbria, with remoteness? It's a really important thing that we need to work on. So I think that these, in his report, is a great opportunity for you to really get up to speed with. And this is where it comes back to you. So have a look at his report. These three things are now being really pushed from the government about how we start to change services. We heard yesterday that the chief executive of the NHS has stepped down, that Jim Mackey from Newcastle is going to be stepping into her role from April, and that's signalling lots of changes which aren't good changes potentially. Because you think about the cost of treating people as they get older becomes a lot. Well, I've actually got a graph on it somewhere. Where we go? No, let me go back one. There's a graph that says that the age between 30 and 65, the cost of treating you doubles. And the cost of between 65 and 80 doubles again. So if we can prevent people becoming ill by all of the things that you're completely aware of, that's where we need to get to. And that's where you need to take action. So going back to the things that we talked about to start off with, What if you, what if you, what if you? So I plugged it all into ChatGPT to say, come on ChatGPT, what's the answer? What if, what if, what if? And this is what ChatGPT told us. It says, actually, it's a bloody great thing to do in terms of, it sounds like a powerful approach to leadership and collaboration. If you leave behind your symbolic or formal titles, like lanyards, focus on creating those real partnerships. It really emphasises humility and openness. It will foster authentic connections rather than relying on status or hierarchy, which can lead to more genuine collaboration or trust. Thanks, ChatGPT. If you have the time and the space, then you'll be more creative. You'll think about more wide-ranging solutions than we're thinking about today. If you're more collaborative and bring more people together, it means that you're going to find more rounded outcomes and better outcomes for everybody. The willingness to engage in honest conversations through disagreements is a good thing. Disagree with each other, but then pull your socks up and move on to the next thing. Disagreement is fine, but you need to have those conversations with each other. And starting with your ideas now is key. It shows initiative and the willingness to take the first step, even if the outcome isn't clear yet. You're essentially setting the stage for a culture of action, continuous learning, and improvement. And there has never been a better time in terms of that burning platform than right here and right now. And so we heard this morning from Claire talked about this is where the magic happens. You're where the magic happens. We heard from Katrina about what's going to be happening in terms of the push on people getting older and therefore having more needs and more costs. We heard from Dr. White about challenging perceptions, and she talked about introducing barriers. Between organisations, we all introduce barriers. It's rubbish, which is where we need to leave our lanyards at the door. I got that saying from Catherine's in the room, actually. I got it from one of the integrated care communities. One of the leads there in Wigton, who's a GP, Dr. Richard Massey, that was his first conversation when they started their integrated care community. Leave your lanyards at the door, because it's not about your organisation, it's about the people that we're trying to serve. Julia Glover talked about behaviour changes. She talked about fear, the fear of movement. And there'll be, that's a really big thing that we all need to start to say, yeah, we're fearful that my organisation does this, or I'm only allowed to do that, and Ed's organisation isn't going to listen to me, and local authorities are really hard to access. There are fears, and often when you bang on people's doors, that's not the case. And then finally, Bex talked about, are we doing enough? What's it going to take? So just to finish with, I just want you to reflect on those questions at the beginning. And I'll go back to the slide. And I want you to just take 2 minutes of self-reflection to think, what are you now going to do in the next 2 weeks to effect change on that burning platform that's affecting us all? So just have 2 minutes, think to yourself, one action that you're going to take on everything that you've heard this morning to effect change. Okay, so there's 150 people in this room. If there are 150 actions that come out of this morning and come out of today, that's got to be a fantastic thing. I think it'll be far more than 150, believe you and me. But you have to do it because the platform is continuing to burn and you're the people that can effect change. So grasp the nettle, take the agency and make it happen. So thanks for listening.